Hello and welcome once again. Now, I may have already put out a comparison video or a versus video of the Spyderco Endura versus the Griptillian, and now I'm going to do a video that I don't think I've seen many people do. Is a comparison or versus video of the Benchmade Mini-Griptillian to the Spyderco Delica. Reason I put this video out is price, really. They're both very similar. Here in the UK, they're about the same price, okay? I've heard that in America they're a similar price also. And you could say they're both EDC orientated, not really tactical, and they're of similar size, okay? Very similar size, and your philosophy of use, if you will. Okay, so let's just first of all talk about the handle scales. Okay, now Benchmade Mini-Griptillian and the larger Griptillian, they use this Noril GTX, which is a similar type of FRN. Now the difference between this Benchmade and the full-size Griptillian is it has liners, but they're not skeletonized. But the liners on this Mini-Griptillian come all the way, almost, to the edge of the handles, okay? Therefore, you don't get much of an echo. So, in my opinion, and it's, I don't know, there's just something about this knife that makes it feel more solid. So it feels less, I say less cheap than the full-size Griptillian. So that's something to take into account. Now the Spyderco Delica, this has FRN scales and very grippy. It's got the bidirectional texturing on it, and likewise with the Endura. Okay, now both of these knives, they're orientated to kind of EDC, as you can see from the size of them, but actually the deployment methods are very different. So on the Benchmade Mini-Griptillian, you've got this axis lock. Okay, you pull the bar down, that releases the blade. Once the blade's in position, you can let go. Okay, you can deploy it quick, sorry about that, or you can deploy it slow. It's ambidextrous thumb studs, whereas the Delica, it's a lock back mechanism. So it's more of a slower deployment. Yeah, you probably can deploy it quite quick if you oil it up and loosen the pivot maybe a little bit. But overall, if fast deployment is your thing, I'd go for the mini grip. Okay, but anyway, that's deployment. It is an EDC knife, so again, you'd question why you'd need a super fast deployment. But putting that aside, that is what it is. Okay, so talk about the scales a bit more, in particular the jimping or gnarling or whatever you may call it, your word for it, is on the Mini-Griptillian exactly the same as the full-size one. So you've got jimping on the blade spine, on the spine of the handle, on the butt of the handle, and on the front of the handle, and again on the choil. Okay, whereas the Delica is just two lots, one on the handle spine and on the thumb ramp. Okay, so not as much jimping, but there's plenty on the Mini-Griptillian. Okay, so that's kind of that. We've talked about the locking mechanisms. Let's talk about the fit and finish. Okay, something I didn't really mention on the Endura and Benchmade and the Endura and full-size Griptillian video, in that the Mini-Griptillian and the Griptillian, I think most of Benchmade's knives now, certainly the blue, black and gold class, are made in America. Okay, they're proud to be American made. That's good. The Spyderco, although I think it is an American company, they make the Delica in Seki City, Japan. Okay, probably one of the reasons is because of the blade steel. Okay, fit and finish on both of these knives are excellent. They're quite high quality knives, but the blade steel, the VG10 on the Delica, and on the Mini-Griptillian we've got the 154 cm. Very similar steels really. I just prefer VG10. It's just my personal preference over these two, probably because I can just get it to a sharper edge. Okay, 154 cm is not to be coughed at either though. That you can get that very sharp, and that has excellent edge retention also. Okay, so Rockwell Hardness Scale, probably the VG10 is about 60-64, whereas the 154 cm is 58 to 61, so it's a little bit softer, but they're still hard steels. Okay, now ergonomic wise, yeah, it's a bit strange, but I actually prefer this is in the opposite of my other video, in that I prefer the feel and the ergonomics of the Spyderco Delica. I just think I've got large hands, and I just think my hand fits better on the Delica, okay, than it does on the Mini-Griptillian. I'm not being sexist or anything, but if your girlfriend or wife or another female, on average, they do have smaller hands, let it be said, they'd probably find the Mini-Griptillian more comfortable, okay? In that I can fit most of my hand on, but the pinky fits about halfway, or the pinky just feels like it's being pushed off, okay? Still kind of fits, but I don't get that full finger purchase on the handle. Whereas I think a member of the opposite sex, I am allowed to say that, would, or someone with smaller hands. Okay, so if you know your hand size or whatever, you know this will fit you fine. That's what I'm trying to say. Okay, whereas the Delica, I've got large hands, and it fits really well. Okay, so that's the ergonomics. I mean, what I also said in the other video was that the Benchmade is easier to sharpen, just because it's got this notch here of metal chipped out, same as on the full-size Griptillian, and I think that's easier to sharpen because you can sharpen all of that edge, okay, on your sharp maker or whatever system you're using, whereas the Delica, it stops on this butt here, which is slightly annoying because you can't really sharpen the really small bit there. And yes, I know you probably use about this area of of the blade, but still, I would like to sharpen all of it really. But having said that, they're still not that difficult to sharpen. I just wish that Spyderco would, I would think that they would, because they do practice this constant quality improvement, kind of refurbish this knife. It deserves to be done. I think a year, 2 years ago, they decided to make it full flat grind, and I think that's really worked out for them. I'd love to see the sales figures on those, but if that's a positive kind of result, then refurbish it, bring it into the 21st century, because this knife hasn't changed an awful lot since like the 80s, 90s. So yeah, make it so that we can choke up, make it so that it's a little bit more comfortable, make it so that the blade goes all the way to the point, rather than has this little dip. Just I see you bringing out limited editions and with titanium and Damascus steel and things like that. You can upgrade this further, but I'll leave that for them to decide. Whereas the Mini-Griptillian, the only thing I would change is the handle scales. Okay, they still feel a little bit cheap, in my opinion. If they changed it to G10 or something, and then if they bump the steel up, I've seen you, Benchmade, I've seen you bring out S30V limited editions and things like that. Make them mainstream. You'll pull so much more money in. But anyway, they're my free kind of marketing tips there. But I prefer, but I like both of the knives. That if you decide to get either one, I think you'll win. They're both excellent knives and both very good for everyday carry. But it's really how big your hands are, I suppose, at the end of the day, and which steel you prefer. Thanks for watching. Take care.